Hey guys, welcome back to part 23 of How to Build a Blog with Laravel. I'm your host, J.A. Curtis. You guys can call me Alex, obviously. And in this series, or this video, what we're going to be doing is finishing up our slugs. Hopefully we get to the finish of it. And so we've already, in the last video, so if you missed it, you're going to want to go back to it. We actually modified our database to get slugs working. Now it's time to actually incorporate slugs into our post CRUD. Okay, so we need to go back, make sure all of our forms are updated and stuff like that to accept CRUD so that we're actually having those in. We're inputting that information to our database. And then the third part, which hopefully we'll get to in this video as well, is going to be actually seeing the slugs in the URL and then redirecting to the correct page. Okay, so that's what we're doing here. I'll see you guys in a second. Back, guys. So like I mentioned before, we're going to actually finish kind of take the next step with our slugs. We got our database modified. I'm going to go ahead, we're just going to take a look at the database real fast before we get started, just make sure everyone's in the same place. Alright, so if I come in here, we're going to log into our blog. Under posts, you can see we have our title, body, and our slug now. Okay, so this is what we're going to want to modify and add it to our post CRUD, because currently on the forms for our posts, if we go to create a new blog post, or if we're editing a blog post, we don't currently have fields that accept the slug, and so that's what we need to add to our database. But this is going to be easy, guys, because this goes back to the refresher. This is basically a refresher for what we've already done. Okay, so let's come back over here. To get that started, what we need to do is since we already have our migration done, we can just go right into our controller, our post controller. Okay, so let's come on over here. We're going to go to HTTP, controllers, post controller. And oh, by the way, look how big the text is. I made it nice and big for you guys. A couple of you guys were saying it's hard to read, and I can see that. I tried to zoom in, make it easy to learn, or easy to see, but we're going to try going a little bit bigger, and I'm going to see if this works when I'm while I'm editing this video. I'm going to see if this works better, if it's just easier for me to zoom in and zoom out. So we're going to give this a try. So I got some nice big text for you guys. You guys can read it. It's going to be a little bit easier if you're on the smaller YouTube thing, because I think up till now you've had to basically go full screen. Okay, let's get started. So we're picking up right where we left off on the controller. We've already got our show page. We're just going to go straight down from the top down on our controllers and just modify it on our controller, the top method all the way down to the bottom. That's going to be the easiest way to make sure we don't skip something, and we'll just think about whether we want something to add slugs to that. So the first example here is, this is going to be our post.index, and I guess the question here, we don't really need to change anything in the controller in this case, because we're going to pull the slug automatically when we just grab it from the database. That slug will now be available to us when we pull posts in. We passed it in, so we're good. Do we need to go to the view and edit anything? I don't think so. I don't think we really need slugs. This is the big table that shows all of our posts that we have, and I don't think we need slugs in. We don't need to show slugs on that page. We can just show it the way it is now with the title. We have a truncated body, and I think the created date is what I think is in there. We'll just keep it with that. I don't think we need to add slugs to that. Okay, coming on down, create. So this is where we create a new form, post.create. This is the form where we can actually create a new post. Looks like we don't need to change. So this is where we do want to add something for slugs, but we don't need to do anything to the controller. What we need to do is something in the view. Right here, all it's doing is returning a view at post.create. Let's go over to post.create. Let's add a field for slugs. So now that when we're creating a post, we actually have a place to put a slug in, and then that slug will then get stored into the database. So let's just take a break from this and go over to post.create in our views. So you guys know where that is. It's going to be under resources, views, and then posts and create. Okay, so let's see. We don't really need to do anything up here. We just need to go, let's see, we've got our title, we've got our body. Let's see, where do we want to put, let's put the slug in between the title and the body. That seems like a good place for me at least. So we'll just do what we were doing before. We're going to create a form, label, and we'll just have it set it equal to slug. And then the text, we'll just have it say You could do slug or URL slug or something like that. I'm just gonna do slug. Then that's for the label. So then we need to do the text. We'll just do a text field because we have a varchar is our database field. So we'll just do a text field in our URL or in our form, and we'll do slug. Why slug? We got to make sure it matches the column name in the database and it matches the label name. Okay, so this, and the column name all need to match, and that's going to be important later when you're doing model form binding, which we'll do in just a second. Okay, the next thing we need to do, and you can look right up here if you forget. This is the default values, the second parameter, so for the text, for form.text. So we don't need a default value, so we'll just do null. You have to have something there. You can't skip it. You got to have something in that parameter. So if you're doing nothing, you just need to pass in null. And then we'll just do an array. Set the class equal to form control, just like we did up here. Form control required. It needs to be required. And so if you remember what required does, this is for it's for drawn a blank. Partially. It's for the partially to make that work, the form validation. Okay, let's do a min length. Set the min length equal to like 5 characters, and then we're going to set max length on it to be 255. Max length 255. Remember to set these lengths equal to strings and not to integers, okay? That's how it needs to be. So like max length, you need to set it equal to an integer or to a string and not to an integer. Okay, that's why we got these quotations around them. All right, that's all we need for that one. I love this big text. I can see it. I can see way back here. I could go sit in the other end of the room and read this. This is great. Okay, so form label. Okay, we're good. I think that's all we need for this field. So I'm gonna go ahead and save. And then we're going to come back over to our PostController. Okay, I've got 2 tabs open here. So PostController. Now we've finished this one. Let's move on down. Go down to store. So what do we need to change to get store? So this is where it's accepting the field from all the data, the post data from the creation field form. The create form. And now we're actually validating it. So this is where we need to do a little bit of extra work in the controller. So we're already validating the title. We're validating the body. That's great. Let's go ahead and validate the slug as well. Okay, so we're going to add another item in here. We're going to call this slug, obviously. Set the slug equal. These are the parameters that you want to... these are the parameters that we're going to validate by. And you guys should remember these. For those of you guys that don't remember or that are coming in new... Let's go ahead and just finish this real fast. 255. And then we're also going to do minimum of 5, because that's what I set the partially equal. So minimum of 5, maximum of 255. And then just do a comma so that you can get your body in here. All right, let me come back over real fast. Let's open up Chrome real fast, Laravel. And we're going to just go to the documentation and validation. Just search for somewhere around here. There's validation right there. So I'll link this in the description. This is where you basically have all your validation objects. Where are they? Come on. There they are. Okay, so these are all the available validation rules. I'll go ahead and link this in the description. But this is where we're getting it. So we're using the min. Here's the min. So we set a min value. We set a max value. We made it required. And there's actually one other thing we need to do here. We need to make this alphanumeric. What that means is, let's see, we don't want an active URL. We want alpha dash. What this means is that this allows you to only do dashes and no spaces, okay? So alpha dash, if you click it, alphanumeric characters as well as dashes and underscores, okay? So that's all it's allowing us to do. So we want to use actually alpha dash as well. So let's come over here and add alpha dash. So we're going to do, it doesn't really matter the order you do it in, but I'm just going to put it after required. Alpha dash. Was that how it was? Oh, it's alpha underscore dash. Okay. Now, the reason the order does kind of matter is that it's the order that things, it actually runs the validation rules. So just think in your head, like what makes the most sense. For example, you want to catch like the biggest errors first, if that makes sense. So, in my case here, it's like, well, is there, we're going down here. The first thing we want to check is that there's even something there required, right? We're making it required. Is there even anything there? Oh, there is? Okay, well, then let's check the next thing. In that case, like before we start checking whether it's too big, too small, let's first of all just make sure it's the right format. You know what I mean? That's why I put it as the second object. So, okay, so there's something there. Is it alphanumeric with dashes? It is? Okay, then we can move on. Is it at least 5 characters? Yes. Is it no more than 255? Yes. Okay, then it succeeds. All right, you could put them in different orders, but that's how I like to do it in that order. Is just think about the way that it's going to run. All right? Okay, so that's all that we have for here. Let's go ahead and that's all we have for that. Then down here, we just need to make sure we're actually adding the slug to the database. So we have our post title. Again, it doesn't really matter the order you do it in. I'm just a little OCD about doing it like perfect. And so I like to do title slug body, just consistent. And it consists with the form. The form starts with the title, then the slug, then the body. Doesn't matter though in all reality. Okay, title, we'll set the slug equal to the request slug. Okay. Oops, like that. All right. And then we save the post, blah, blah. Yep, you get a success message. Okay, all that's correct, so we don't need to change anything there. Going to go ahead and save. Okay, coming on down to show. So now we're going to grab the item from the database. We're going to return a view show, and we're passing in everything from the database. So our slug will automatically be passed in now because we grabbed all the data from the post with this ID number. So the slug will automatically be in there, and we can just need to do it in the show. So let's come on over to post.show and take a look at it. So we already have it open here. Resources, views, posts, show. Come on over, and we just want to see where do we want to display our slug. I think it'd be good to kind of just have it displayed. I was thinking about putting it in the, we have like a gray column on the right-hand side. I think that'd be a good place to do it, right by our updated at. Here's the created at and updated at. I'm thinking about putting it right there. So let's actually just put it right above it. We're going to go ahead. Let's just copy one of these definition lists is what they're called. And we're just going to click slug or URL slug. And then we'll just put it in here. Okay, so we'll just do post slug. And if you really want to get fancy, you could actually, let's see. Let's just do that real quick. You could actually just call this the URL. Bam, like that. And then we can actually create the URL. What is the base? Let's see. Let's find it real quick. So Laravel base URL in the documentation. I think it's under request. Not that. It's under HTTP request, I think. This gives you the base URL, and we're going to add okay, request URL. That gives you the actual URL, the full URL. We want the domain. Okay, so actually what we can do, I just remembered kind of what we could do. So if we come over here, what we'll do is we do, there's a helper in Laravel, let's make some space here, where we can do like URL like this, and then we can add like where the extension. So basically URL outputs the default base URL, and then we can add everything else on top of that. So what we'll try, I'm going to try this real fast. We're going to actually add the post slug to this URL, and we'll see if it works. Okay, so this is a little experimentation. It'll be really cool if it works. So basically this will give us the base URL, and then it's going to append the slug to our base URL, which will hopefully work. Let's see, okay? And if we wanted, you could actually make this whole thing into an href, like an anchor tag. Let's try it. Let's just see how it works. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to make an anchor tag. We're going to set it equal to this URL post slug, And then we're going to come over here, and for the actual body of it, we're going to set it equal to the actual the URL as well. And so we've created an anchor tag. I hope I didn't do that too fast. So here's the opening of the anchor tag. We set the href equal to the slug inside of the URL. It should give us the whole URL. And then we set the value of the URL. So what actually is displayed to the users is also the URL with the post slug in there. So let's see. I'm going to see if this works. It should work, but we'll see. You know, you never know until you try it. Okay, so we've added that now, and that's pretty good. Really quick, I want to test what we just did. Let's come open up our server. I'm going to open up a new tab, PHP artisan serve. You guys got the hang of that. Okay, let's come back over here and let's do localhost. Oh, that's Ruby. Good old Ruby on Rails. Let's do 8,000. There we go. Oh, we don't have any posts in here. So let's go ahead and create a post real fast. Posts. All right, we got nothing. Create new post. This is our first post. And post body, this is the first. Okay, cool. So now we're going to create post. If everything works, successful, that's a really good sign. And you can see here that, oh, we made a little error, but I think it worked. Let's look here down here at the URL. You can see it actually takes us to localhost /first post, which is correct. Though we made one little error as far as the text being displayed. We actually want it to, we forgot to put blade things around it. So the curly braces, but otherwise this actually worked really, really well. So this is cool. Let's come back over to our Sublime real fast. And what we forgot to do here is curly braces. So let's go ahead and add that. And then we go ahead and save this. And I'm just going to come back and refresh. Okay, and now you can see that actually added our item here. So the one thing we might want to change is just kind of the formatting of this. It's kind of pushing everything, you know, to the side. We could do, we could just do a little reformatting here. Let's, instead of doing a horizontal list, let's do just basically a label. Let's try a form label real fast. Well, let's just do a label. We'll just do an old-fashioned label. We won't use helpers. Label. And then here, let's just do, I think this will just break it to a new line. Let's give this a try. There we go. That's, works for me. Let's just give this a paragraph tag. Okay, so this isn't necessarily the prettiest formatting. I realize that, but we aren't in it for the pretty formatting, are we? Let's just go ahead, and I'm actually going to do this with all of them. Let's just go ahead and just change. Actually, I'll give you guys a cool tip for Sublime. What you can do here, let's go ahead and just highlight this DT. And you can see how when you highlight the DT, it puts little boxes around this DT, that DT, that DT. If we want to change all of them, you just do Control D, or Command D, sorry, on Apple. Control D probably on Windows. And you just click it 3 times and see how it's highlighting all of them? They're all highlighted now. Well, now we can just change it to label and see how they're all, they all get changed at the exact same time, which is pretty cool. Okay, and then same thing here for the DD. What we can do is, let's just highlight those 2. And then we'll just do, Command D, Command D, Command D that highlights all of them. And then from in here, what we can do is we'll just do the paragraph tag and, add the paragraph tag. And then around this, we'll just add our anchor tag. Or we'll just add, oh, we don't need anything there. Those are done, actually. So let's go ahead and save. Come back over here, refresh. And there we go. That's good for me. I have a little typo there for created at. Let's go ahead and change that. Created app. There we go. Okay, that's everything for me. That's okay, so we're all done with the show. So now we've got create show. We've got the store done. Let's go back over to controller and just see where we're at. PostController. So we've got show done. Now we want to do the edit. Once again, we don't need to change anything in the controller because we're automatically pulling the slug in. So let's come back over to views. Let's do let's take a look at our post.edit and just make sure we've got a field to edit the slug. So we're going to come back over, post.edit. Sure enough, just like our last one, this is going to be almost identical to the other one we made. In fact, someone did mention, and I'll let you guys know this, a comment mentioned that you can create a partial for your form, and it will work with all of the, like, the create, the edit, and all that kind of stuff. That does work. I've heard that that works. I actually don't do that because it's too confusing to me. I'd actually rather have it written out, in my opinion, but I'm weird, so most of you guys probably would like the shortcut. I always write it out just because, like, I'm kind of against what I like to call magic in programming. And the magic is like when there's a lot of really hidden things happening behind the scenes, where like the hidden stuff is more complicated than just doing it yourself. I call that magic. And I hate magic because sometimes it's just like I'd rather just see how it works and actually then I have full control over it instead of trusting that, you know, this Laravel program will make it work. I feel like when you extract the form out to a partial, it works. From what I've been told, it works, but I don't get to see how it works, and so that bothers me. I like to have control over it. So that's just me, and I could be weird, and that's okay. You guys can do whatever you want, but I just thought I'd mention it so you guys know. Okay, you guys already know what I'm doing here. So we created a field called slug, a label called slug. It's the same thing we did before. That's why you could use a partial if you wanted. And now we're just going to add the class form control input large. Well, we don't need to do input large. We'll just do normal input. Okay, so that should be all that we need. I'm going to go ahead and save, and then let's just take a look over here. If I click edit, okay, sure enough, we get our first post, so that's working. Oh, we didn't really technically have our URL in here, but that doesn't matter because we have that one there. Yeah. The only other thing we might do is just add, I had a class here that added some extra space. Let's go ahead and do that real fast. We had this class form spacing top. Let's just add that class to this one as well, like that. Okay, so we added the class form spacing top. I'll just give it a little more space. Let me save it and show you guys what I'm talking about. Oops, I put it in the wrong place. I want to put over this label is what I want to do. That might be way too much spacing too. Okay, so now what we want to do is we'll just add a last parameter, set it class equal to form spacing top. Now if we come back over, there we go. It's a little too much spacing, but who cares? Okay. Again, I don't want to waste too much time doing all this little styling. That's why I wanted to use Bootstrap, is just to try to speed that up, because this isn't a styling tutorial, but we'll do some styling. We'll do some fun styling tutorials. That'll be good. It's good to know your way around CSS. All right, we're done here. We're done here. Okay, so we're done with edit.blade. Let's head back over to our PostController. We're going to go to update. For the update class, let's see. This is where we're actually taking the edit. Now we've submitted the edit, and now we're actually processing the data and updating the database. So that's what update does, remember. We obviously need to revalidate the data once again, so let's do it again. We're going to do slug, and you guys should remember from last time, we're doing required. Oops. Required, and then we're going to do alpha dash, and then we're going to do a minimum of 5, and we're going to do a maximum of 255. Okay, so we're setting our validation. Then we're going to find the item. Now we're going to update it. We need to update the slug to make sure it matches. Set post equals slug. And request and input. Perfect. Let's see. The one thing that I think we're going to want to do actually is I forgot to put unique in here. So let's come back over to our validation. Or our documentation, I mean. Come over here, and if we go back to our validation, and we come down to, where can we get, available validation rules. There's actually an item in here called unique database. Let's go ahead and click that. And what we can do in here is we can make sure that it's unique inside of a database. And this is going to be important because I forgot to do this. We're going to go back and do it when we actually save it. Obviously, it needs to be unique. We talked about this in the last video. When you're creating a slug, you don't want to make sure, you can't have more than one slug that's exactly the same. They have to be unique. So we need to make sure it's unique. So there's a validation rule that allows us to make it unique, and that's what this is here. So let's see. So we just need to put, okay, so it's unique, and then the table name, and then the column name. So we'll just copy this. Well, we'll just copy everything inside the quotation marks. We're going to copy that. We're going to come back over to Sublime. And then up here in our slug validation, we're going to, and actually the best time to do this is at the end. And I'll tell you why in a second. Let's just go ahead and paste it and then get it edited. So we're testing if it's unique inside the posts table. And then which column? We're doing the slug column like that. Okay, so we're saying, hey, go into the post table, go into the slug column in the post table, see if this item is unique from everything else in there. And then we're done. So let's go ahead and save. And now we're completely done with that. So now that'll see if it's actually unique. So that way we don't. And oh, I was gonna say the reason we did it at the end is once again looking about like how do you want to do? What order do you want to do this in? I would say that unique. Let's go ahead. These are really quick on the computer to see if something's there or not. Very, very fast process. To see if something's alphanumeric or not. Very quick process. Is it more than 5 characters? Quick. Is it less than 255? That's another quick process. The one's going to take the most time is this unique, seeing if the item's unique, searching the database. And so what I want to do is I would rather see if it's unique after doing all these making sure that it's even valid to begin with. If it's not valid, then why bother searching it in the database? You see what I'm saying? Like if it's not going to meet the criteria of a slug, then it's probably not going to. It doesn't matter whether it's unique or not. You see what I'm saying? So I like to check those first. Check the uniqueness of it last, and that way it'll also limit your database requests. Let's say you put unique at the beginning, and then someone doesn't even have an item in there. It's not even. It was an empty slug column. Well, it's testing to see if it's unique. It's searching the database for an empty column, when it's not even valid anyway. Even if it came back and saying, oh yeah, it's unique, I don't have anything else is empty. Well, or maybe it's only 2 characters long, and we're gonna say, yeah, there's nothing else in here empty after searching the database, and then it's just like, oh, but it's only 2 characters long and not 5. Reject. You might as well do that rejection earlier on, okay, and then save the database till later. Okay, so this actually searches the database. So that's what we're doing with this. Let's go ahead and just copy this, and then I'm going to add it to our other one in just a second. Okay, so we've got that done. We've got our slug. We're all done. So this is all done. The update is all done. The last thing is destroy, which actually doesn't require any changes. We're deleting it just as we did before. The slug doesn't matter. We'll delete the slug when we delete the entry. Okay, so we're actually all done. Let's just come back up to store. And up here where we did the validation for store, we're just going to add what we did down there and make sure it's unique. That way when we're storing it, it's unique. When we're updating it, we're making sure it's unique. Okay, so we're always making sure it's unique. Let's go ahead and save that. And we're all done, guys. So we can actually go through, and we were doing it here. We can actually go through now, and we can see all of our posts. We can create new posts. We've got our slug in here. And we're basically all done now with the slugs. The last thing that needs, or actually making sure the slugs are compatible with our previous application. The last thing we need to do for slugs is we need to just make sure the URLs work, okay? And I know you guys are gonna be pissed that there is another video for this, but I'm gonna do it as a different video just because we're at a good stopping point here. We're at 30 minutes. I wanna start a new video for the next one. But what I'm gonna do is it's only 10 a.m. right now. I have all day to do the video. So I'm actually going to do the video right now. We'll publish both of them on the... Oh, I got to go to work. I just got my message from something I got to go do for work. But I'm going to be available all day today after I do this quick thing. And so what we need to do is I'm going to post both of them today. So you'll get this one and then you'll get the next one right away. So they'll both be available. I just want to separate them out into different videos. But they'll both be available. Okay, guys, that's what we got. I'll see you guys in the next video. We're gonna actually get the URLs to use the slugs in our URLs, and we're gonna create a quick page to display the post to the user, and then we're done with our slugs, and we can move on to authentication, which is you guys are begging for, which is great. I'm excited to do it. So thanks so much for you guys' hard work. Thanks so much for the support. Subscribe if you haven't. If you give me a like, it'd be awesome as well. I hate to always ask for those things, but they do help as far as allowing other people to find these videos and stuff like that. So the more you do those kinds of things, it's great. I'm all caught up on comments as of today. So right before this video, I was catching up on comments. I appreciate all the comments that you guys give me, and I answer all of the ones that... if it's like a specific direct question, I try to answer it, at least at this stage in the game. I'm able to do that. So anyway, thanks so much for you guys' hard work, and I will see you in the next video later today.